Okie dokie, beer and smoky, off we go. So yes, gentle viewer, good morning and welcome to Friday. I'm on my way to have an assessment ride with Wayne for the IAM Road Smart Advanced Motorcycling Scheme. Thank you, madam. And the idea behind this is not a test, although it is an assessment to see what training I need in order to become successful as an advanced rider. I'm hoping it all goes well. I'm hoping I don't need too much training, because I'd really rather like to do this very quickly before I go on my hollybobs. It's all about information, position, speed, gear, acceleration. And the information part obviously is going to be extremely important. But I've no doubt I'll get briefed on that. Now, whether or not I manage to get it filmed with anything like decent volume remains to be seen. Detritus in the road, nasty detritus in the road as well, that looks sharp. But the first port of call will be to get some juice, because I'm not doing awfully well. Are you coming or going, or what are you doing? You're not, right. It's a nice morning, tad breezy, and but nothing out of the way particularly. Visor down, so it shouldn't adversely affect handling, which should be good. I've just realised I must sound really, I don't know, simple or anal or whatever. Gusty, that breeze. So, off we go. And here it is, the Dunker, which is where the meeting place is. There is nobody around, no need to indicate. And there's Wayne. Right folks, we're here. So here we are, ready to go, and Wayne's given me the thumbs up. That tells me he's ready. I give him the thumbs up, that says I'm ready, and then it's down to me to set away. So here we go. I'm turning right out of here. We're going to be heading down towards Durham Services via Chesterley Street and the back end of Durham, just to find various different roads, different road types, so we can see how I ride. And wouldn't you know it, there's traffic by the shed load. But this can be quite a busy road, so patience, it's a virtue. You just wait and carry on from there and see how it goes. And the opportunity arises after this blue van. Off we go, a safe getaway, straight into position out near the crown of the road because of that junction to the left hand side, and then down to the roundabout that isn't a roundabout. It's a weird roundabout, is this one that's coming up. There's loads of giveaways on it in strange places because they're trying to maximise the flow, I think. So over across to the left for the right hand bend, and then down towards this weird roundabout. Plenty of paint on the road, so you know to slow down. Taking the right hand side of the road, and I'm going to basically straight line this because there's nothing else on the road. and off we go. Now around about 300 yards up here I've got to turn right, so I'm checking my mirrors and making sure I know what's behind me before I need to do a head check, and then we see where we go from there. Thankfully it's quite a quiet morning this morning, and the right turn is due to come, so position's there, speed's right, gear's right, acceleration sense, loads of time, round we go. Wayne will follow, I'm sure, because there's plenty of time, and yes he has, as you can see in the mirror. So down we go again, positioning towards the left. Now this is how I usually ride, for those that are wondering. I actually do ride like this. And that's as a result of watching so many YouTube videos that show you how advanced riding's supposed to work, and positioning for view and all of that kind of stuff. Now it's a roundabout coming up, so I'm going to be going straight over. I've picked the middle of the carriageway because there's little exits and entrances all over the place here, and all I'm trying to do is just share the danger, if you like, split the danger left and right. More or less straight line in this roundabout again, shoulder check to the left to make sure it's clear before I come off, so I'm not going to knock a granny over or anything. And there's a possibility of an overtake down here, but given that we're not very far to the next roundabout and I can't see what's over that rise, I don't see any point in chancing it, so we'll just ride on. Now I should point out, while I've got the chance here, that I'm looking in my mirrors a lot whenever we're coming to a junction, because Wayne will tell me which way to go by signalling early. So I'm looking for his signals in my mirrors to tell me which way I've got to go. I mean, I know where we're going at the minute, but I've got to keep an eye out for that. So it does make you use your mirrors a lot, which is probably a good thing. Problem with it is it probably ends up stopping you doing your shoulder checks as often as you should, which is one of those things that can happen. But never mind, let's carry on. Cars coming out from the right possibly, and here we go to the roundabout again. Approach it in the right hand lane and take it quickly, checking the left to make sure there's nothing coming on. And then down this road, I know from local knowledge that this can be a right pain in the arse. There's a junction on the left coming up round this bend, where people have a tendency to position absolutely terribly. The road condition is not brilliant, as you can see. It's a bit rutted in places and you tend to get a bit followy sometimes, but there's a right hander coming up that's got the junction to the left of it. So what I'll be doing is holding this position and then pulling out a little bit just to see, yes, there you go, there's traffic in the junction, so I'm pulling out, further out, and then pull back in, because again I've got another right hander coming. So I want to be in position right and make sure that I'm not going to be putting myself in any danger. There's junctions aplenty down here, and you've got to keep an eye out, because there's some of the boy races in their cars will come flying around here at 1,000,000 miles an hour and take it wide. So the further out to the left I am, the better. That's good. And on we go. This is quite reasonable. I'll shut up for a second until we get to the roundabouts. Now as we come up to this little sequence of a couple of roundabouts, the second of which we're going to be turning left at, again this can be a right pain in the jacksy. On the left hand side of this roundabout is the Durham County Cricket Club ground. You'll be able to see it over there to the left, and it gets quite a bit of traffic, and given that we're coming into the summer you never just know what's going to be going on, but it all looks clear, so planning to stop, preparing to go, and off we go. Coming up to this next roundabout, we're going to take the first left off here into a 50, and within half a mile under the railway tracks is going to be the left-hander that Wayne was telling me about, where he says there's no way you can be in the right-hand lane to take the left-hander. That's fairly obvious. So off we go, straight up to 50 miles an hour, or as close to it as I can get, given that I don't really want to get myself into the right-hand lane, just in case there's a fair amount of traffic up there and I can't get back across. So prop position, off we go. Car in the junction, that's all fine. Mirrors, lovely. Now I'd made a mistake here. I should have checked my mirrors, but I'm going to have this car because he's just going too slow. He's doing 35 miles an hour and that's no good to me. I want to be getting up towards the speed limit. It's not a target, but where conditions allow, I like to approach it if I can. Now, as I say, I'm staying in the left-hand lane here because I would normally be straight out into the outside lane and herring past these boys. But knowing that I've got to turn left up there, it's pointless even trying. I might as well stay here, enjoy the ride, stay relaxed, not put myself under any pressure. I could possibly have gone, I could possibly have gotten back in, but there just isn't any point. There's no rush, it's not a race. We're getting held up a little bit by the car in front, but the junction is about 150 yards ahead of us now, and I need to be in the correct lane to be able to take that junction without any problems. And of course, here we are coming in, having been briefed on it all. Given that I'm doing this narration after the event, there's the national speed limit sign that I missed because I was too interested in making sure there was no traffic coming up that I might collide with going round the corner. I've done this before. Really annoying as well, bloody sat-nav didn't pick up that it's a 60 down here. That said, I don't think I would ride it any differently even if I was trying to stick to the limit, because this is, as you will see, quite windy and I wanted to get my positioning right on it. Could have been a bit further over to the left there, but wasn't. Never mind, it doesn't matter. Still safe and smooth. Safe and smooth is what I'm aiming for here. Just trying to get round it all at a decent speed without going too fast, without putting myself in any danger, and that appears to be what's actually occurring. Dappled light doesn't help. This is a road I call Rabbit Run. I used to drive down here a lot in a Bedford CF van, and literally at times it was like riding over a cobbled street because there were so many rabbits. So I'm taking it canny because there's horse poo, there's rabbits flying about the place. It's not exactly the most salubrious of roads, although the road surface itself is in fairly good condition. But I'm trying to read the vanishing points, trying to read the bends, trying to keep to a reasonable speed. So at this point in time I'm doing about 38 to 40 miles an hour, because that's the speed I would do it at. And it is a lovely road to ride, it has to be said. Junction coming up on the right, and people do have a tendency just to come out without letting you know they're doing it. So keeping a weather eye on that, keeping over to the left. We're clear at the junction, that's good. One of the things I have found, I should point out while we're doing this, is having the sat-nav in map mode but without it telling you where to go does give you advanced warnings of the bends and twists and turns of the road, so you've got a little bit of time to get your planning right, which I think is always good. And we've got a right-hander here. It's been signalled as a right-hander, but it's not particularly tight, but still a good idea to be out on the outside and pull in a little bit for that junction and then back into decent position on the road to make fair progress. And on we go. Enjoy the scenery for a little while and then I'll start talking again. That didn't last long, did it? There's a sequence of junctions up here that can be a right pain as well. There's that right-hander there, which is quiet, and there's a left-hander coming up around this bend, and people have no vision of what's going on. You can't approach that fast. Well, you can, but you're taking your life in your hands if you do. Probably giving that car a little bit too much room, but given that there's a blind crest pretty much up here, and I know that they're knocking the old school down, so I'm not sure whether there's going to be too much traffic about the place. So I'm giving them a wide berth, looking towards the bridge to make sure that there's nothing coming down that's going to force me right over. And yeah, by this time I've actually lost the nerves. I was quite nervous when I set away, but now I'm a little bit calmer. I feel a lot happier. I know the road I'm on, so I'm quite happy to ride it at a proper speed, and yeah, it's all good. On the left here is the school that they're knocking down, and there's quite likely to be construction traffic about the place, so I need to take it quite careful. Now Wayne's signalling that we're going to be turning right at the roundabout to head up towards the retail park and that way on. So I've got a fair idea where we're going. Mirrors checked, all clear, off we go. This isn't bad at all. Now as we're riding up here, you will see very shortly, you'll probably see in the mirror if I keep my bloody head still, as we come past this little lot of traffic, I'm not getting any signals from Wayne. That means I need to be going straight on. That's fine and dandy and all good. So I'm slowing down, but keep my feet up, keep on rolling, and then on you go. There's no need to stop, you just slow down well ahead. And as we come off the roundabout, here comes Wayne. He's coming past. Now at this point I was a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit wondering what the hell I'd done wrong, because I thought I'd been riding okay. But he's not signalling me to pull over, and he said, you know, if he needed to stop me because I was riding like a tit, then he would. So I'm thinking to myself at this point, why is he coming in front? Just follow him and we'll find out. And when we get to this next roundabout, it's fairly obvious why. He couldn't really give me a signal for straight on, right or left, because it's a 5 entry roundabout and we hadn't briefed on the route we were taking at this point. So what he's actually done is he's got in front to be able to show me where we're going, because we're going to take the road towards Durham. My lane's clear for the second exit, which is the one we're taking. That would have been a left signal, you see, but this isn't straight on because straight on's further out to Sacriston. So at this point we've come onto the road. Now Wayne wants to be in touch with me and needs me to get back in front of him. We don't have comms, so there's no way of signalling that. So what he's doing now is slowing down, and as soon as he sees round the bend that it's going to be safe enough for that Hyosun lorry in front to overtake him, he's got his windicator on for left, let the lorry get past, pulls well over to allow that to happen. The lorry works out what's going on because he's seen Wayne's vest. I pull up behind him and then I get waved through. There's the wave through. So I go through and we're back in position. All very gentlemanly, very calm, very cool, very collected. I'm really enjoying this ride now. Wayne's a good lad to ride with, and it doesn't feel as though somebody's watching your every move. So at this point I've relaxed and I'm riding the way I always ride. I'm not necessarily doing me head in, although I am being, as I always try to be, very observant and trying to ride by everything I've read in roadcraft and everything I've seen on videos on YouTube. Nigel Bowers' video, Advanced Biker he's called. So here at the roundabout, watching signals, seeing where everybody's going, get on, carry on, no need to stop, it's all good. I could have gone into the bus lane here, but no, we're not doing that. Durham allows you to use bus lanes, unlike Gateshead. Those thieving robbing sods won't let you use bus lanes, and then they'll fine you if they get a picture of it, so be careful. So now we're approaching the roundabout, and again leaving a big gap so I can see what's going on, and off we go. Now Wayne said at this point I could have straight lined this one, but I'd seen that car coming on from the right and wasn't quite sure what it was going to do, so I thought it better to keep to the lanes and that way would be alright. And again, we're now in a 40-mile-an-hour limit, so I could possibly have taken the wagon, but there's just no point in doing that because he's doing 40, I'm doing 40, and we're all good. This is a bit of urban dual carriageway and higher speed road, leading down to one of the most annoying junctions in the country as far as I'm concerned. Car in there, pull out a bit just in case he decides to make a move, just gives them further for them to hit you, and then back in position for the right hander. It's actually all very easy, really. You just have to remember and think that what I'm trying to do is keep myself safe, keep it smooth, and be in the best position for the best view, and making sure I've got enough gap between me and the vehicle in front, and preferably enough gap between me and the vehicle behind, which doesn't always happen. I was talking to Wayne about it at the debrief. Whether or not it'll keep in or not, I don't know. But he says, you know, if you've got somebody that's pushing up and basically sniffing your backside, well, the best thing you can do, rather than go shooting off like a shot out of a gun, slow down, let them past, and then let them get on their merry way, and then your safety bubble is extended as far as you want. And it's good advice. Thinking about it makes life an awful lot easier. Now we're coming up to the junction at Neville's Cross here, and this junction, the lights take forever. Now those of you that have recently done your motorbike test, your full or any of the tests, if you've been training, you'll have been told to put your left foot down, and I definitely remember being told just leave it in gear, put your left foot down, right foot on the brake, and then you're ready to go should the need arise. And there's much conversation about it as well. So what's going to happen here, I'm approaching the lights on green, they go to amber, pull to a stop, and then sit with my clutch held in for donkey's ages. There's Wayne to the right. We'll have a little conversation now. So it's straight over at the roundabouts and carry on straight on at the lights. We're basically following the A167 all the way. Now, I haven't timed these, I should time it, but these lights take forever. I'm going to skip through them at this point. Right, I've skipped through it, and here we go. For reference, 1 minute and 20 seconds stood at the lights. It's too long to hold the clutch in. But never mind, that got brought up at the briefing as well, and I'll possibly try and show you that. So on we go down. This is a weird piece of road as well. There's junctions left, right and centre. It's a 40-mile-an-hour limit, and it drops into a 30, then it goes to a national, and then it drops into a 30. It's here, there and everywhere. You've got to keep your wits about it, because again, you've got folks blasting down at all kinds of different speeds. If you know the lanes, then you know where you can get to get the best kind of progress made, if you like. So off we go, and I'm following this discovery, but he looked as though he didn't know where he was, so I've left a bigger than normal gap, and you can see why. There you go, found where he was going, indicated as he turned the steering wheel. If I'd been riding a bit close looking for the overtake, God only knows what would have happened there. But never mind, things are all good, so on we carry down the road, and it's reasonably quiet. So national speed limit coming up. I should have done a shoulder check, I didn't. I'd checked my mirrors, got up to speed, and off we went. But I knew what was behind us, nout basically, other than Wayne, and he's expecting me to do that, and I know what he's a good rider, so we're alright there. And that's a cycle path on the left hand side. Don't argue with that. Terrible. Don't want to be arguing with cycle paths, they'll do you in. So off we go, nice lick. And of course the NSL is indicated, so that's fine. I'm quite happy at the speed I'm doing. Get into the right hand lane, because that's where I'm going to be coming into the roundabout at. Losing speed, straight on now. Just timed it right. That's the way you should do it, of course. Letting Charlie boy in that, I don't know what it is, it's making a horrible bloody racket, and chucking so much crap out the back, and I didn't really want to be riding with that. This is a 70-mile-an-hour limit now, but I'm sticking at 60, because I just don't want to be up at 70 and close enough to him that I'm breathing the crap coming out the back of his exhaust. So I was quite happy sticking at 60 down here. Let the faster traffic past, quite happy with that. Suits me down to the ground. Captain Slow's the name. going not too fast is the game, if you might say. But this is the way it's going, and I'm not seeing too much in the way of signalling from the back of anything I didn't ought to be doing. I certainly haven't been pulled over, so I'm quite happy. I'm quite relaxed. I know the road reasonably well, and on we go. And into the 40, and managed to hit that just at 40, although I did have to use the brakes because I hadn't seen the lettering far enough ahead to allow engine braking to get me down there. But never mind. Again, watching this for people coming on, and there you've got Charlie Boy in front belching clouds of fumes out. He went past, or he went down like a shot out of a gun, and what am I, 10 yards behind him? Slow and sure wins the race sometimes, you know. So on we go up the bank, again trying to keep the position right, avoiding that bloody tar snake because the bike will fall off it. Pull out a bit so Mr. FedEx doesn't suddenly decide to come out and bat us a bit. And then over to the left because of the blind brow. And we'll pull out a little bit, I think. See what's going on for this slight left-hander. Gives a little bit better view so I can see past Mr. Red car. And I'll go back out to the left a little bit because again we've got a junction coming on. We're going to be going straight on. So we can do that. And all's looking good. Checking the roundabout. Yeah, it's all good, straight on. No hazards there. So back out a little bit. And keep on keeping on, as they say. And again, into a national, over the shoulder check, and off you go. Thankfully, people seem to be driving quite well today. My position here could be a little bit further out probably, but it's not bad. And then over to the left again, because we've got a bit of a right-hander and I can see further around it. Yeah, it's all good. Pull out a bit because I don't believe a left-hand indicator going. That usually means the engine's running and you can't necessarily tell what the driver's going to do. But again, I'm quite happy where I am. It's all good. Motoring along nicely. Keep checking the mirrors. It's not a I don't do it on a timed thing. Just check when I've got the feeling something might have crawled up behind that wasn't there before. Again, there's loads of space up here for overtakes, but I'm doing 40, so there's absolutely no need, because you can cross those dotted white lines or dashed white lines and use those chevrons, but there's no point. I'm at the limit, so it's all good. Straight over at the roundabout. And then I know we're heading for Durham Services, and I'm fairly sure that it's a left at this next fairly complex junction. So again, no point in going back and down the outside. I could do it, but there just isn't any point, even though we are slowing down a little. So just stay where I am, well back, plenty of room, just in case anybody does anything stupid, and on we go. Just so you know, these are all the thought processes that are going through my head, but I try and verbalise them when I'm riding like this. Now we're in a 40, and it's kind of doing your running commentary in your head. I think helps you understand what's going on. So there's plenty of mirror checks are happening here, and yes, there is a left-hand indication. So we're going left onto the A688, heading towards Durham Services. I was committed to those to that junction before the lights hit amber. Had I decided to brake at that point, it would have discomforted people behind me, so there was no point in doing it. And I had plenty of time, and the traffic was such that there were no amber gamblers, so that was fine. I was committed to the turn, and off we go. And This, if you like, is the calm before the storm. There's plenty of signs for roadworks. We perhaps should have known what was about to be our fate, but we didn't. So here we go. Travelling at a nice lick. Nice and comfy. You can see it's a nice ride because the visor's up. I don't need my visor down at this point, it's all good. And I might even be talking over stuff I've said while we were riding, but I don't think I was saying much here. There's a system of junctions about to come up, and you can see that people are starting to slow a little. And again, because of the junction that's coming up, I just don't feel the need to take the overtake on the car in front, and he's only 3 miles an hour below the limit anyway, so it can't be done. And there's too much furniture in the road, and yellow signs for roadworks, mud all over the place. Not worth taking the chance, and there's no point in doing it because, as I said, it's not a race. So I'm just enjoying the ride. And why not? It's comfortable, it's warm by now. It is slightly breezy, so you know, you've got to be a little bit careful. And we're going to go left at this roundabout and head up towards Durham Services. So off we go. Roundabout's clear. Now quite often you come round here and you think, ooh, brap, off you go. Yeah, not so much this time. The brake lights are on, so I'm slowing already. And here we have a massive, and I do mean massive, tailback of traffic, because they're doing all kinds. So I'm pulling out slightly to try and get a view and see whether or not at this point in time it's worthwhile trying to filter up. But I can't see a gap that I can get into at this point in time. But as the cars and vehicles start to move, I can see a gap starting to open up further up the line. So I'm trying to get myself timed. I know if I try and take this Renault and slot in front of him, he's going to crawl up my backside, because he's crawling up the backside of the car in front, and I don't want that. So I've got a view, because of that bend in the road, I can see where the gaps are, and I'm just waiting, biding my time, and I can see a gap opening up. There it is, so we'll go. We're clear to do it, there's plenty of space. I don't need to go into the opposite lane to get past, so I can get in behind that red car quite nicely. Now there's going to be a couple of stops up here as well, and I'm looking for another gap to see if I can make a little bit more progress. And it's becoming obvious, because of the way the traffic's flowing at us from further up on the other side of the road, that it's traffic lights. So when it's green for us and it's gone red for them and they stop coming down, I might be able to make a little bit of progress. And I've spied a gap, I think, further up in front of that lorry at the front. But at this point in time, I'm not sure I want to take it. Not yet. I'll just bide my time a little bit till I can see better what's going on. It looks like there's lights. I feel like there's lights. But I can also see the street furniture. There's that keep left sign. So I didn't want to go where that keep left sign was, in case I couldn't get in, because I didn't want to go to the right hand side of that, and I wasn't sure there was going to be enough gap to get past it. And there's also a junction there, and again, don't overtake on a junction, that much I do know. So at this point I'm looking at it and thinking, aye, this car's blocking the junction off if anything's coming up and wants to turn right. So I think I'll just pull up here and leave a gap so that those vehicles can, should they so desire, and if they're going in that direction, get out. That's what you're supposed to do. And once I know there's enough room for me and for Wayne yonder side of that junction, so that vehicles turning right can get out, then I'm coming across. And I'm still looking to see if I can identify where that next gap's going to be, but because of that keep left sign, I can't get out yet. And that's the beauty, I suppose, of local knowledge of the roads. And the only reason I know that is because my dad used to work there years ago. So looking through, see what's what. I think that gap is still open in front of that lorry driver ahead, because he seems to have been keeping a gap in front of him. I think he might be a biker, I hope so. So I'm just biding my time, waiting to see what's going to happen. And I think when the traffic stops coming down, I'm going to have a go and see if we can't get up there and get in safely. So I'm keeping the obs going. All of this time, mind, I'm down to around 3 miles an hour with both feet on the pegs. But occasionally the traffic drops down below that, and I'm just not good enough to do the 3 mile an hour thing. So I'm having a look here, because I can see where the gap is. I'm off. I'm going. I've got the room to do it. Slot in here, and then this is going to open up again. Check the mirrors, check the shoulder, off we go. There's no traffic coming, so I can go hunting. And off we go. And I'll just drop in front of this red lorry, because he's going to be my safety net. If anybody does decide to go hell for leather into the back of him, it's going to take a fair amount of shifting. Plus, he's been keeping this gap open, and I like to think he's been keeping this gap open just for me. Still crawling along. The damn place that we're going to is just up the road. You'll not be interested in this bit, so I'll cut from here to us pulling up in Durham Services. There's nothing really much more to see. There's just a set of traffic lights and then a right hand turn, and we're just sticking with it from here on in. There's no more filtering, so we'll pick it up when we get to the Durham Services. If you're ever up this way, this yellow hatched area with things that you can chain your bike to, it's actually marked up for Durham Police and Durham Advanced Riders, but it's for any biker. And that's the end of that.
So, how did that go? How did you enjoy that, apart from the last bit?
I enjoyed the last bit, just rather not do it all the time. Once I'd realised where we were going, yes, I'll be honest, when you came past us going down to the roundabout after the top of the dual carriageway from because that was because it was a confusing one.
Yes, that is where communications would be a godsend.
Yes.
So I should have mentioned it, I didn't. I would overtake if there was a confusing situation, and I would leave. What complicated it a little bit more was the wagon got between me and you.
Yes.
And I didn't want to slow down on the bend a bit.
No.
I waited till I was on the straight and slowed down. So I didn't present myself as a hazard to people.
Overall, as far as the ride was concerned, I enjoyed it. I felt I was planning reasonably well. There was a couple of times when my positioning on right hands probably could have been a little bit better. I think the left hand positioning mostly was alright.
Yeah.
The only place I got confused, and I've been confused since I was 18, 17 and passed my test, is that road down the back of Finkel. I've never known what the speed limit is, and I've never seen a bloody sign.
I guess that. Yeah, as soon as you turn left off the dual carriageway, there they are. But you were committed to leading the bike over, because it's a left turn.
Yes.
That you can miss them, but they're there on both sides. And I knew straight away, Dave doesn't know the national speed limit here. When we set off, no real problem. It was a long wait to actually get away. We got away together. We headed towards Chesley Street from fence houses, and no issues there whatsoever. Your positioning in general was spot on. We were moving away from hazards. Remember, whenever you move away from a hazard, whether it's traffic coming towards you or not, make it proportionate to the risk that it shows you. So if it's just a car coming towards you and it's not waving about, move across, but you needn't move all the way to the inside. If it's a wagon and you can't see what's behind it, I sacrifice more position. But bear in mind, if you do that, and there's a car suddenly sticks its nose out, he might think you're inviting him to overtake.
Yes.
So always be aware of that one. We went down the bank with all the, if you park here, you'll get towed away signs. Your positioning on the bends was fine. Spot on. We came to the roundabout at the bottom, which becomes dual carriageway. Now, would have preferred it if your positioning had been more to the right-hand side than the near side.
Yes.
It was a left-hand bend. And also, if you'd considered using both lanes. The right-hand lane was good to go, and we could have cleared some of the traffic. But in general, it was a safe ride. We turned left onto dual carriageway. It's 50 mile an hour. We were doing 45, 50-ish. You went for the overtake. You cleared the overtakes, fine and dandy. I could see you became aware of where I meant you had to be in the near side lane. So we got bogged down, but that happens. We had to get bogged down because there's no way you get clear and get in, because it's a short speed reduction slip road, and your back end's still prone to being hit by other vehicles because they look at you and go, oh look,
Yes.
and they come over. When we turned left off there, you were well over to the left for the left turn. If you'd stayed further out to the right, you then would have had a better radius to turn in that left turn, and you would have had a better view of what was coming.
Yes.
That's your speed limit. You missed the sign. I'll not lose any sleep over that. Your ride to that point was smooth, very safe. A lot of head checks missed up to that point. We continued along there, finally got up to somewhere near the national speed limit. Wasn't fussed about the bends because all you do there is you charge up to the next one, you brake hard, you go around the bend, you charge up to the next one, you brake hard. It was just nice and smooth and pleasant. Once we hit the straight, that's when you increase the speed. Didn't quite hit the national speed limit. Again, I'll not lose any sleep over that because you weren't certain of the speed at the time. Turned right at the roundabout. At the second roundabout, I had to get in front to make sure you went on the right road. Off we went. You predominantly stuck to the near side lane. We had two lanes that always went straight across. You'll have noticed I moved across into the outside lane. You could have straight lined the first roundabout on the dual carriageway because there was only me there, but you went round wide. If you're not going to cause hassle or grief to anybody or a hazard to yourself, the safest place for a bike to be is upright. Especially in the wet, if it was wet, straight line. Only do it if you're not going to cause confusion to other road users.
The reason I didn't, in my defence, there was a white car on the right hand side coming onto the roundabout as we'd gone on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how quick he was going to be taking it. So rather than take a chance at T1, if he was going straight on, I stuck to the outside lane. So he knew where I was.
Yeah, it was a she. It was a she.
You're not allowed to say that these days.
It was a her. Yeah, I spotted it as well. It's just something to bear in mind, to consider. Weigh it in your mind. You've already said you did that and ruled it out. Fine. An examiner on the day of the test would listen to that and go, yeah, okay. And it's 40 mile an hour down there. Quite often there's a lot of opportunity to filter, especially if school's coming out. You have to filter if you want to get there before tomorrow.
Yes.
To the traffic lights at Neville's Cross. It's unnecessary. You can't overtake anything. It's pointless. It's 40 mile an hour. We just stayed with the flow, and then we both ended up in the 2 lanes, levels cross, front of the queue. So that was brilliant. We got away. It's still a 40. It's selected for the next set of traffic lights, right-hand lane, the lane of least resistance, spot one. So far along it becomes national speed limit, which is 70 mile an hour because it's dual carriageway. We got up to 60-ish, then crept up a bit higher towards 70, which is fine. So head checks, national speed limit, you didn't see the sign, so we know that. Under the clutch. Other than that, dear, that was a very safe, very smooth ride. The filtering, I kind of fault it. It was calm. You didn't rush into it. You took your time. It isn't a race. You know, yeah, you might get to the front of the queue, but as far as I could see, it was that narrow at the front of the queue and that tight. You wouldn't get me. You would have been sitting on the outside, and it just needed an earth-moving vehicle to come off the side. And what happens then? Where'd you go?
Well, that was it. The first two leapfrogs that spied me gap before I went. I knew where I was going, and that was fine. After that second one, I'm sat there looking. I could not see the gap at all, and they were all big vehicles. And the HGVs, they just tend to want to lick each other's backsides. I think there's only ever that much room. I just look like
the last one we dropped in front of, he was good.
Yes, he was
He
very
hung
good.
back. He just hung back. Right, I need your little booklet, and I'll fill it in my score. You did well on your pre-ride checks. You knew what powder he was, but you did it in your way, which covered everything except because we got sidetracked, the oil level. But you'd already mentioned oil level for like brake fluid and that. So 1 is the highest mark you can get.
Right.
2 would be a pass, and 3 is working hand, needs work. Yeah. One thing I thought you might mention.
There's a discovery hand on the right, Brian.
Yeah.
He used the Bagsy.
I was looking at him and I was thinking, something's coming off here. He's too twitchy. He was on his mobile phone while he was driving, and then I couldn't see the indicator from my position until he swung right, and I saw the indicator. So I don't know how long that was on. I suspect he only did it as he made the manoeuvre.
It was a Bagsy indicator. He caught it as his hand went right.
Yeah.
And that was basically Bagsy, my space, I'm going.
But because you had left a 2-second rule between yourself and him, you applied your brakes to do it. I was slightly further back into the outside. All I had to do was roll my throttle off and I was fine. And we both, I still remained behind you. You shrugged your shoulders, gave him a look, and just continued. You know, it didn't faze you. That's the benefit, right position, right distance away from the vehicle from 2 seconds. Be it 5 mile an hour or 50 mile an hour, 2 seconds. The slow speed manoeuvring, that's either doing U-turns or just going in a straight line, was exceptional. We were down to 3 mile an hour on my clock at one point. David gave a very safe and smooth ride because 2-second rule was applied at all times. He avoided the Range Rover turning right without warning. Good planning, well done. David needs to consider length of time he holds the clutch in while stopped. Work on head checks, as very few performed. Improve vehicle sympathy, again which is the touch, and watch for speed change signs. Missed one. That's the only one you missed. There's some of the highest scores on an initial assessment I've ever presented to anybody.
Well, thank you very much.
So, no, you're a very safe, consistent rider. You weren't inconsistent in any way, shape or form. You looked as though you were in control of everything and everybody. You were never fazed. The incident with the Range Rover, Land Rover Discovery, whatever it was, could upset people. It didn't upset you. You just shook your head and continued. It didn't alter the way you rode the bike from before or after, and away you went. There's a fair bit of polishing we need to do because we want all ones.
Yes, I would like all ones.
Because if you get all ones and on the day of the test you're nervous or you make a major mistake, you're a 1. You've got to drop down to a 3 before you're going to fail.
Yes.
So we've got that big margin of error. And our pass rate is still 100%.
Good.
So, terrific. Remember though, when you meet the observer, they will look at that either before or after the ride to see how it compares with what they've seen. They might well go 1, so I don't think it's a 1, I think it's a 2 or a 3, depending on what you've done. Don't get upset by that. It's just, especially the first ride,
Yes.
they set their baseline. As far as I'm concerned, that's pretty damn good. It's been a pleasure to ride with you.
Thank you. And I'll share the same with you as well.
I never went, what's he doing? Why is he there? Why has he done that? Never happened. You know, yes, some of your positioning was slightly out on occasions, but hey, it was perfect. And when you've got, even though you're not supposed to take notice of me, when I'm moving about with those headlamps on, and you're looking for indicators as well, or hand signals, and you never missed one, that's a first as well.
Really?
You never missed one, and that's a first.
Well, there we go. That's the assessment ride done, and I'll be honest, I'm very pleased with the way it's gone and the report I've gotten. There are some faults, yes, there are some faults, there are some things I need to sort out. Not so much because it's dangerous. As Wayne said, it was a very safe ride, which I'm awfully pleased about. So, just bits and bobs to get the 3s, which you're bound to have, up to the 1. So while I ride this motorway home, can I say thank you very much for watching so far. If you've enjoyed it, and if you want to see more, please do consider subscribing, and do please give me a big thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section down below. Like I said, thank you so much for joining me on this ride out. Hopefully there'll be more. And possibly with a bit more talking going on, that's the idea at any rate. But for now, from me, Dave, the fat lad on a bike, stay lucky, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye now.